Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam. Join me tonight, Leon and Naota. Hope you guys are well, and I hope you guys have got your microphones as well, because doing a podcast without your microphone would be like a boxer coming to the ring without his mouthpiece. Like, that would never happen, would it? Leon, let's start off in New York, HBO. Two big punches. There was only really one outcome. It was fun while it lasted, those 3 rounds. What was your view on Lemieux versus Stevens?
Well, they delivered what they said they were going to, or at least Lemieux did. I think Stevens was pretty passive in those early rounds, wasn't he? Like, I mean, there wasn't many rounds, but the first couple, and maybe towards the end when he started to throw a bit more. But he didn't let his hands go, did he? Particularly,
I think that he didn't have the opportunity because Lemieux came out so quick.
Good.
Yeah,
about 30 seconds into the second round, he started to let go a little bit.
But yeah, his jab was awesome. Like, everything he was either a double or triple jab, and then power hands and hooks and straights behind it. And yeah, I thought Lemieux was excellent, man. You never really give Curtis an opportunity to kind of get into the fight. I know Naota's saying like there was bits in the second where Curtis was landing like right hand, left hook and stuff, but overall, yeah, very impressive. Lemieux.
He was Lemieux was always throwing, wasn't he, for the whole fight? So, you know, that when Stevens was throwing, he was also engaging. He was always on the front foot, I felt. But the knockout was a thing of beauty. But did anyone else notice that Lemieux misses with that right hand, doesn't he? And like grazes him. And as his right hand's coming back, it pulls Stevenson's hook left hand further out, so it looks like he's throwing a really wide shot. But it's because Lemieux's when Lemieux's right hand's coming back, it pushes his arm away from his body.
I actually didn't notice. I have to go.
When they throw hooks at the same time because of that right hand. He's throwing it from much further out. Watch it back. It's really weird. And I don't know if it's something that he practices doing. He does that to kind of like. But it definitely affected the timing of Stevens, and that's some serious power, because that was a short punch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a devastating knockout. Naoto, just on the knockout itself, before you just give your view on the 3 rounds. For me, it's probably up there for knockout of the year so far. I know Mikey versus Latakanen, but I was talking to my boy Nesmatic yesterday, and the thing about the Mikey one is because that uppercut stuns Lat, and he kind of was defenseless. He turned his back slightly and got caught with like a free shot. This one, because both Curtis and Lemieux were engaging, it just overall is a better savage knockout in my view.
Well, I mean, it's more sudden. Honestly, I'd say they're about equal, just in terms of the relative violence of them. I mean, both pretty nasty the way that they turned out. Because I mean, Garcia's kind of reminded me of David Tua when he knocked out John Ruiz, where it's like he was already hurt, and then just the knockout was just so savage. You know, it was like a street fight knockout with Lemieux and Stevens. I mean, I can definitely see your point with regards to the fact that they were thrown at the same time, and it's almost like that. It's like you'd see something like you'd see in a movie, where it's like they're hitting each other at the same time, or they're throwing at the same time, and like boom, one guy is out. That's like the Fight Night round 3 type knockout, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't really argue with anybody either way regarding which one they'd rank higher, because I do think that Garcia's teaching something can be said for the fact that it was fought at like the top level, you know, like 2 high level lightweights, you know. Arguably two of the best, if not at the very least 2 in the top 5. Whereas with Stevens and Lemieux, you know, you've seen them beaten before, you've seen both of them stop before, hurt before, etc. So it doesn't necessarily have the same overall significance to the division or necessarily to their careers as a whole. But at the same time, I mean, even a few years ago, Edison Miranda, I remember, got the knockout of the year versus Jonathan Banks, and you know that wasn't at the highest level at super middleweight, but it was just such a violent knockout. You know, Banks freaking asleep as he's being balanced by the ropes, like he's in a hammock or something. You know, it's just so graphic that sometimes those win after all.
And the 3 rounds while it lasted, what did you think of Lemieux?
I mean, Lemieux started so fast, man, and I think really Stevens just wasn't prepared for Stevens to come right at him the way that he did. You know, Lemieux came at him like a freight train, was putting punches together really well, going to the body, into the head really well. You know, he was throwing that right hand to the body, which is really a neglected punch, and landing it very frequently, and that's where I think he was able to get a lot of those openings up to the head as well. You know, it's like for me, the first round was pretty much all Lemieux. The second round, Stevens managed to fight back a little bit, landed a pretty good 4-punch combo about like 30 seconds into the second round, managed to stun Lemieux back, and then we had a nice little bit of a back and forth for most of the second, and then Lemieux looked like it started to take over again as Stevens, his just overall volume and his overall ability to set punches up is just so lacking that Lemieux was able to just kind of outcondition him, so to speak, even though it was, you know, a very short fight. It's like you could tell that he was ready for a war for every second of every round, where Stevens was still thinking about fighting in spurts, and, you know, just kind of picking and choosing his spots. And, you know, that's what bit him in the ass, especially because in that third round, and really throughout the entire fight, he had been kind of standing straight up against the ropes. It's not someplace you want to be, especially against somebody like Lemieux, who Lemieux is probably one of the better fighters in boxing in terms of really torquing into his shots. Like, it's like he'll do that little dip to the side and then like just lean into like every ounce of his body weight into every punch that he's throwing. And so, you know, he's just going ham on you. This fight really reminded me of like Lemieux's early fights, back when he was still on the come up, like the 4 or 5 fights that he had before he fought Rubio. You know, he just was a steamroller, just crushing people and putting them up against the ropes and knocking them out. And, I mean, he just lit Stevens up, and it was just really a matter of time because Stevens didn't have the overall ability to set up punches properly. A lot of what he was throwing were like the hooks and everything were landing on Lemieux's gloves or landing more grazingly, and Lemieux did really well kind of going side to side with that high guard and shortening up his punches. I thought Lemieux's punches were much shorter in this fight than I've seen him in recent years, so I think he's actually managed to improve. But, I mean, just a great performance from Lemieux.
Yeah, like previous fights, I've seen him telegraph it from one corner of the ring to the other, the right hand, but it was a lot better. I think Curtis was relying a bit too much on his left hook, like I said last week, when he was back against the ropes. He was just kind of trying to catch and shoot. And he did catch Lemieux a few times with it, but Lemieux took the shots well. I saw a Twitter thread today. KH and Hamada were going back and forth regarding this weight issue. So it was IBF originally, some type of lower trinket belt on the line initially. Both made weight on the Friday, but Lemieux failed to turn up for the weigh-in the next day. KH was saying, you know, that's kind of wrong because he's agreed to, you know, make that the weight on the second day. Lemieux was saying, you know, he didn't know about it, blah blah blah, and Hamada was kind of saying to KH that, you know, it doesn't matter really because it's not like the belt was available for him to win. Obviously, with him failing to turn up, the belt wasn't there. Like, what's your kind of views on this, Leon, initially with you?
I mean, it's for a trinket, so in that sense I don't care about that belt. Like, I don't value that belt in any way. But if you've signed up for something and the other guy's doing it, then that's bullshit, isn't it, really? If Stevens is there and weighed in, so what does he have to be, 170?
Yep.
But Lemieux wasn't 170, was he?
No, and he was
118, I wouldn't say.
They had him at 177 for HBO's Fight Night weigh.
Yeah, so yeah, let's say 180. So that's an advantage. That's a weight class above, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm more on your side. I'm more on your side of the fence. If you've agreed to something, the other dude's doing it, and then either because your conditioning is shit or your camp was poor, because even at the weigh-in, like, he looked fleshy, he didn't look in great shape. I don't think that's acceptable. Neil, what's your thoughts on it?
I mean, I kind of don't care, especially because, like Leon said, it wasn't for any major belt. Well, I mean, and there was actually 2 other minor trinkets on the line too. Apparently, the WBO Intercontinental and the WBC Continental Americas. So I'm guessing that other one, the IBF one, was probably the NABF because I know that's under their umbrella. But I mean, It is what it is. I mean, the thing is with 24-hour weigh-ins, it's just a matter of you make the weight, you can weigh in whatever the next day. And honestly, like I prefer fighters to be at full health the next day rather than having to like artificially keep themselves still in a potential drained state the day afterwards. Because honestly, that's actually potentially more more damaging to them. If anything, what really should have happened was that they should have just made it so that, Steven should have been harder really on him if he had that much of a problem with it. But it seems like that problem only developed in the aftermath with the fact that he knocked him the fuck out, But if Stevens would have knocked him out, I don't think there would have been a problem. But
the other thing is, were those other belts still on the line?
I think they would have been because they wouldn't have had
the problem is just such a mess, isn't it?
Because the IBF is the only one with that rule. The WBO, the WBC, and the
if one person's going to do
it.
It's either one. It's either all of them or none of them. It's just so messy, isn't it?
The thing is,
it's just so messy.
I've always liked that IBF ruling because in my mind, I've always thought maybe it'll keep guys in a weight class where they're not draining too much, so they don't come into in the ring with a massive weight advantage. In reality, it just seems like it's not really effective as it should be. I don't think.
The only way it could be effective is if the Association of Boxing Commissions had that rule, and then they actually penalize people for doing that, like if they banned them for a year or something like that. That's literally the only way it can happen. Because with the WBC, the IBF, the WBO, and the WBA, they all can pretty much develop their own rules, make their own rules, and then insert them when and where they want to. Whereas if the Association of Boxing Commissions, which is literally an association of the boxing commissions worldwide, from Japan to America to the UK, etc., you get an actual unified rules. That's where the unified, quote unquote, unified rules of boxing come from. So if they actually had that rule,
I need to cut you off because when you mentioned the list of governing bodies, you didn't mention the IBO. Like Chris Eubank Jr. is a world champion, man. Let's show respect, Naota.
Yeah, my bad. I do like the IBO rankings for what it's worth. Their rankings are the best, period, point blank, because they're computerized, so they're not filled with bias and BS. So it's really unfortunate because honestly, if there was one belt that probably would be the ideal one, it would probably be that one, just because of the fact that they have fair rankings, really. But that notwithstanding, just the fact that there's no solid unified rule about that, whether it's you have to be within 10 pounds of the weight class or within 10% of the body weight of the weight class. So say if you're 160, you can't be over 176 or something like that, or even if it was a rolling scale. So it's you might be able to gain 7 pounds overnight for a straw weight, and then you might be able to gain 12 pounds overnight for a middleweight or something like that. So it's a certain percentage.
I think a percentage would be better because
obviously,
just 10 pounds overall over all the whole weight classes is ineffective because 10 pounds at a lower weight compared to an higher weight, it's so much difference. But
it's a much bigger differential. So if you get a guy at 122, guy of two flyweights, one is 122 and one is 115, that's a bigger difference than if somebody's 172 and 165. The difference in just body mass percentage-wise is much greater.
Yeah, Leon, before we move on.
There's one thing, though, if the IBF do keep this rule, is that, Canelo is never going to unify the entire
I was going to say, I was about to just get into that. Canelo would never fight for an IBF title.
Nah, never be the unified champ then, can he?
No, that's true. But yeah...
only probably at super middleweight he would.
That was
I don't know. He's a fucking miniature cruiserweight, isn't he? Really?
Well, because I'd say fight night, I think the max he'd probably get to is close to 180. I don't think he'd go that far above that. So I think he could probably do that at 168.
I don't know. I think he'd be light heavy, to be honest. But Leon, that was my next question. Do we see Triple G possible fight with Canelo getting pushed back to maybe early next year so Lemieux can just jump the queue? Because it would be, obviously I don't want it to happen, but it would be a sensible fight for Golden Boy to make.
It would be for Golden Boy, but who's going to second guess Canelo after this move and going to 164? We don't know where he's going to end up, really. He might skip straight through 160.
Nah. Most likely he'll go back to 160 after this bullshit fight with Charles.
Well, look, me and you said on the night or the next on Sunday, like we thought that was kind of give like that's almost a done deal. I mean, I just think if they want to, if he looks shit against Jacobs, then maybe they take it. If he walks through Jacobs and ices him, it's Lemieux.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you agree, Nathan?
But it's still a dangerous fight for Canelo because, I mean, that was an improved Lemieux.
Yeah, no, I pretty much agree. It's really just a matter of how Golovkin looks and then how much risk they want to take. Honestly, I think I wouldn't even be surprised if they waited even longer for Golovkin. But yeah, as long as Canelo was to beat Chavez, I think that Lemieux probably just makes the most sense in terms of Golden Boy as a promotional company. You know, they promote both of them, and the fact that this fight has been talked about for over a year now. You know, they were talking about him fighting Lemieux since a year ago. So it just seems like it only makes proper sense for it to happen next, especially because it would be a good test of just how good Canelo's punch resistance and or defensive skills are against like a non-stop aggressor. Even though Golovkin isn't necessarily a non-stop aggressor, there would still be a high level of aggression there as well as a high level of power. And honestly, like I know we were kind of disagreeing about that in the chat before the show, Cam, a little bit anyway. I think Lemieux hits harder than Golovkin, regardless of the fact that he's not as good of a fighter or not as pinpoint accurate as Golovkin.
In a single shot, I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding with the fact that he slept Stevens. You know, Golovkin kind of accumulated damage on him, rocked him really badly. He had him doing some funny dances and stuff and making some fun memes, but otherwise.
Do you think that's because Golovkin is more technical with his punching, so he doesn't put as much into it, or were you saying flat out he's a bigger puncher? I just you know, he's just more methodical, isn't he, Golovkin? So he's not maybe swinging for the fences quite as much.
I mean, yeah, he is a bit more methodical, but I have seen him, you know, really put a lot of body weight into some of his shots.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily have that same, like, you're out effect. You know, they have the concussive effect, but not like, good night, you know? I'll see you
he folds
in
people,
5 hours.
doesn't he? He folds people.
Yeah, initially I thought, Golovkin, man, but the more, like, you guys have kind of argued the case, I'd probably have to agree with you. The only asterisk would be maybe Golovkin looks like, you know, when Stevens was talking shit to him and in the build-up, when he had that coffin and shit like that and said he was going to, like, end Golovkin. And it seems like he wants to put a slow beating on people. Like, I would love him to go out there and just try and, you know, just take someone's head off, because I think, like, he probably would show the same amount of power as Lemieux.
But I tell you one thing he definitely does is when if Golovkin landed the body shots that Lemieux landed on Stevens would have been folded. He's a bigger body puncher, I'd say.
But then
I think that's probably to do with technique.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. All right. I think we're done on this fight, unless you guys got anything else to add.
Lemieux's good. He's got better in his interviews, hasn't he? I think his English got better. I thought he handled. Max came at him quite hard with the fat boy stuff, didn't he? And I think he handled that quite well.
That's true.
Didn't he? He went at him pretty.
He was savage as well on Twitter. I think the day after he goes, "Oh shit, I didn't know it was Stevens' birthday on the 10th. Happy birthday!"
But Stevens did go for it, wasn't he? Start you fund me or one of those things for his medical bills and shit like that.
Yeah, I think he actually said that Lemieux was going to leave on a stretcher or something, so that's how that works.
I'm sure there was a kind of, a website to raise money for his hospital bills, which is fucking pretty fucking bad taste, really, isn't it?
That's savage, man.
Yeah, but he got, and then Lemieux said, well, he can keep the money now, can't he?
But again, like that knockout was a bit scary, man. Like, when I spoke to Nesmatic yesterday, you saying, like, you almost for a second thought, like, you know, God forbid that he was out of there and he was dead, because he was. I was scared for a few moments.
But he seemed to recover reasonably well by the pitch. You know, he looked like he was kind of a bit more lucid when they were WWEing him into the back of the ambulance. Did you see all that, like in the stretch and stuff? It was all
the way he was kind of moving his arms and gesturing and moving his head and all that stuff.
I thought the Undertaker's head was going to pop out the front of the ambulance and drive off with him or something, you know.
Yeah.
It was strange.
Should we move on?
Stone Cold breaks in the back and tries to finish the job.
Yeah.
Undertaker gets a tombstone. All right, let's move on. Leon, I know you missed these, so me and Naoto will just quickly cover them. With the Gamboa fight, Naoto, I don't think we'll stay on this subject for too long, because it's a bit of a below average performance from Gamboa. I know Alvarado's not a clown, and he's not a shit opponent, but I thought Gamboa looked a bit flat.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I did think that, some of the ring rust may have had to do with that. Just he's been off for a while. He was supposed to have that fight, what was it, a month ago? Didn't really come off. So, I think there might have been a little bit of ring rust there, even though it didn't necessarily show from a reflex perspective. It might have shown more from a timing perspective. I did think that his hands and his feet were very quick still, and he still had a fair amount of power. He was able to momentarily stun Alvarado a couple of times. He did get hurt himself, of course, too. He went down in the 10th round. But that just goes to show that, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned it last week, the fact that, Alvarado is not a joke. He's not a guy that you could just go in there, roll over, knock out. The only stoppage that he had was from cuts, and where there was a lot of head clashes as well. So, it helped kind of open those cuts even more so. But otherwise, he's a guy that's been kind of like a contender at featherweight, and he ran the likes of Rocky Juarez and Joseph Diaz in pretty difficult fights. They won the fights, but he made life fairly tough for them. They definitely knew that it wasn't any kind of walkover, and I think it was really the same way here. To me, this wasn't the way Golden Boy was looking at this for Gamboa. Was they weren't trying to make him look amazing. They weren't trying to make him look like a superstar like the way he was against Rogers Montagua, when he just blitzed him, blitzed a high-level opponent. They were trying to gauge exactly where he was at to see exactly like if they were going to toss him into a title shot maybe within the year, or maybe, give him a couple more fights and then, go for a title in like 2018 or something. And, they were hinting at the fact that he could potentially fight somebody like Takashi Miura. And I think that would be a pretty solid fight. I'd say that he's ready for it. I mean, Miura didn't look like an absolute destroyer in his last fight necessarily, especially with regard to the fact that Gamboa is significantly quicker than Miura. I mean, it's really just a matter of can he defend properly against Miura's power shots, especially that bombacious left hand. It's just nasty when he goes.
What's your thoughts on that, though? Weight-wise, would they meet in the middle somewhere, or would Gamboa back down to 130, or would Miura be coming up?
Well, I mean, the fight with Alvarado was at like a slight catch weight, so Gamboa was 131. So to me, that speaks that he's trying to fight at 130, because this wasn't for any title. So a lot of times, like non-title fights at, say, super featherweight, they'll be at 131 or 132, and it looked like that that was the case here. So I'd imagine Gamboa versus Miura would probably be like a WBC eliminator at 130, and then the winner would probably be in line for Miguel Berchelt, if not potentially be available at least for some of the other champions.
Yeah, that him and Miura would be a fun fight. But just to your point about that knockdown in the 10th, even though it was classed as it wasn't really legit. He was kind of trying to roll underneath and got pushed down by Alvarado. But he did struggle with Alvarado's range. I know he had 7-inch reach advantage over him, which is a large amount. But what was weird to me is he was struggling to get on the inside, but when he did get on the inside, he was kind of smothering on his own punches. So it's like, well, you've done the hard bit, you've got there, but now you're not really landing clean. He was kind of just throwing punches and bunches, but for the sake of it, he wasn't really picking his shots. But yeah, overall, it was a weak fight, and the crowd got very aggressive soon. Boos came up quite quickly, and then I think even in the last round they were booing, but pretty shit fight. I didn't enjoy it at all. But moving on, the only other fight they shown on Box Nation, I know they've shown 4 rounds of the De La Hoya fight. I think they started in round 4 and showing the rest of it. De La Hoya, man, I just can't get high on this kid, man. He's just very average to me. I don't know, but we've had this discussion in the past. I don't want to go old ground nail to, but what's your thoughts on De La Hoya?
Honestly, I didn't think he looked as good in this fight. I have praised him in the past because he had managed to look pretty impressive against some of the former opponents of the likes of Jojo Diaz, who of course is well ahead of him in terms of career progression. So yeah, I mean, just this performance was a little bit underwhelming. He did manage to get the guy out of there, but I think he was a little bit over aggressive, trying to really just knock this guy out. And I think he could have chosen his shots a lot better.
No, he didn't get him out of there. He went UD 8 rounds.
That's my bad. I don't know. I can't remember exactly why I had him. Why I remember him knocking him out.
No problem. The other fight that was quite decent though, Neota, that they shown was the Elise versus Zachary Ochoa. That was quite a decent fight, even though if it was a bit one-sided.
You know, I actually didn't get a chance to see that one. That one I missed.
What the fuck, Neota? You're like hardcore boxing fan. How did you miss a fight?
Yeah, it happens, man. It happens.
Nah, I've never seen this Ulysses Junior guy before. He's Canadian, boxing out of Montreal, but yeah, he was a bit too much for Ochoa. He was on the front foot, a lot of aggression, leaping in with left hooks, right hands, and Ochoa just had that low left hand, just getting caught with almost everything. It was a steady beating up until I think the 7th, where he just was shipping so many shots, and I actually thought the ref was going to jump in. He didn't. He was letting it go on. He was firing about odd occasion, but he wasn't landing on Elise. And at the end of the round, his trainer just said, "No, you had enough, man. That's it." And Ochoa's brother like stepped up onto the canvas, saying, "No, don't stop it." And his coach pushed him away. He's like, "Nah, man, it's not good for his health. He's taking too many shots." So it was good to see that, you know, someone actually cared about him, even if his brother didn't give a shit about him. But at least his trainer cared enough to stop the fight. But yeah, this Elise dude, I think he's got a good shout at that weight class. It was at 140, and 140 at the moment is a bit dry in the world ranking. So I think he could make me.
And it'll probably get dry real soon too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I was impressed with him. So we'll see what happens with him next. But yeah, very good performance. Let's move on to Germany on Saturday. A horrible card by the Sauerlands. We'll probably get into like Gamal Yafai's performance and another undercard fight that was terrible, but probably won't speak on it too much. But obviously the main event was Jack Culcay versus Demetrius Andrade, and a guy I'm high on. Every time I see him, I'm always impressed, but she was on the foot this time. Like, I was very disappointed with his performance. Leon, do you agree?
It's strange to be disappointed in a fighter when he clearly won the fight 9-3, you know. Even some people had it wider, but he was very one-paced, I thought.
But it's like if you know someone's better than that, though. It's like if you got kids and your kids, like, you know your kids are smart, but they're getting D's. It's like, well, I know you're smart. Why the fuck are you getting D's?
Yeah, I know. It's just, you know, when he fought Brian, look, this guy was clearly better than Brian Rose, but not much better. When he beat Brian Rose, he gave him a fucking beating, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was hitting him, hurting him, big punches. You know, he had to be stopped because of accumulation of punches, but he was mean and spiteful. He wasn't mean or spiteful in this fight, I didn't think. And it showed because that guy wasn't getting hurt by his punches. To be fair to the kid, he took his licks, didn't he? He stayed in the fight. He never quit, did he? But I mean, and in those last rounds,
he was the one coming forward. Yeah.
If he's going up to 160 and getting lit up like that, he'll get sparked clean out, won't he?
Yeah, because Culcay is a very small 150.
Well, he's a welterweight, isn't he?
Yeah.
He looks like one.
The height difference was enormous, man, isn't it? Like, he was
crazy
towering over him. But
yeah, I said early on, it reminded me of Adrian Broner fighting Gavin Reese.
Yeah.
But he was getting, it wasn't a defensive, you know, he's usually very good defensively, isn't he? But, I mean, maybe it's because he didn't think he was worried about his power, but he definitely stunned him a couple of times in that last round, didn't he?
Yeah, What do you think of Andrade's performance?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty bad. Although I think that style of opponent is always going to give Andrade a lot of difficulty. Somebody with those short chopping shots and is just like a bruiser on the inside. And I think coupled with that, I think that Andrade chose to fight the wrong fight. He was going in there really looking to, I guess, make a statement, try to knock this guy out. Like this guy's just like some scrub from Germany, some domestic level fighter or whatever. I'm going to go in there, take him out, take his belt, and blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of people were thinking that going into this fight too as well. But I mean, the guy's only loss, he actually managed to avenge in his very next fight. And it was a decision loss as well. So overall, I think a lot of people really just kind of counted him out. And, he gave Andrade a very difficult time just stylistically, I think. That short chopping right hand was definitely a pain in the ass for Andrade to try and avoid. And that's the shot that he managed to hurt Andrade with in the last round as well. Overall, though, I mean, Andrade was just generally speaking a level above. So it's like he won that fight on talent and kind of inborn skill, on muscle memory, more so than he did on like a great strategic achievement, where I think in theory he probably could have won that fight like 11-1. Whereas I think I had it, I don't know if I had it 8-4 or 9-3.
Yeah, I had it 8-4.
But I think I had it fairly close. Thanks to just Culcay's ability to fight on the inside, basically. Andrade really found it difficult to deal with the guy. I do think a lot of people are being a little bit overcritical, though, of Andrade, especially when they talk about, like, oh, well, if this guy, gave him a tough fight on, Arislandi Law will kill him. Like, well, Arislandi Law fights nothing at all like this guy. So I don't know where any of that is really coming from. But, not a great performance from Andrade. But now he has the WBA regular belt. Hopefully the WBA will be slowly, but surely, as they've been doing, unifying their titles, and we can get Lara versus Andrade. Basically the two top fighters at 154 finally facing off, really.
Yeah, I was really disappointed with his accuracy. He missed so many shots. Like, Culcay, all he was doing is stepping back every time Andrade would do an onrush of attack. Just steps back, and he was just still throwing shots, even though he's left the pocket. So it's like, why are you wasting your energy? I was surprised he didn't use his feet to position Culcay. They were fighting from the center of the ring a lot of the time when Andrade was on the attack, and instead of kind of like stepping him with one jab, pushing him back, maybe do it again, now he's against the ropes, now let off your shots, now let off your combinations. No, he was doing it from the center of the ring. He's just stepping back, and he's missing wildly. It's very poor performance, man. And I'm critical because I know how good he is, and I'm high on him, so it's almost like, I'm willing to him to do better, but it was a poor performance. I don't know about you guys. I watched it live. I think you both used it as well, and there was a point in my mind, I'm thinking there's going to be a robbery in Germany, man, because the last few rounds, Culcay was pointing on him. He was the aggressor. He was walking Boo-Boo down. He was throwing the shots. A lot were getting caught, arms, gloves, whatever, but when you're looking at it as an overall fight, I could see a little robbery in Germany.
We've seen much wider fights get scored for the guy that lost the fight, especially in Germany.
Was there a draw in there, or a split?
Yeah, it was.
Or was it all five?
No, it wasn't unanimous. It was a split. One judge had it to Culcay.
Because them Sky boys were talking hella shit again, weren't they, Cam? Like, Jamie Moore was fucking horrible on that.
Jamie Moore was pretty bad. I don't really mind Darren Barker, but Andy Clark's really quickly become a company man, hasn't
he? Yeah. But there wasn't one thing where Moore was going, the size difference is massive. Not that it means anything. It's like, what are you talking about? and then he was saying, he's giving rounds away. He's in danger here. He's in danger of letting this fight slip away. It's like, he was winning the majority of the rounds quite easily. So they were just talking. And they were constantly going on about robberies in Germany. It was a bit fucking naughty, don't you think? Like, every round, we know what can happen in Germany. Yeah. It's like, we know what can happen in this fucking country as well.
Exactly. But Jamie Moore's a difficult one for me because he's a local boy. He's Southborough brethren, but
great fights.
Great fighter, decent trainer, but terrible commentator.
company man. Again, all
Awful.
company men.
Yeah.
And they were all flinging around the fucking 10-10s again, weren't they?
Just do it for fun.
Jesus, make up your mind.
But that's why I don't like these guys as commentators or caller commentators or just pundits, because they got too much investment in it. It's not neutral. They're not giving their honest opinion. They think, fuck it, I'll just give it a 10-10. No, mate, actually choose.
And then you get Frotch 1 week's going, I'm scoring it like how I imagine the fucking the judges would score it. What are you talking about, mate? I've never seen a judge give out 5 fucking 10-10s, you nutter.
That was awesome. That it's like, no, you score it how you seeing it. You don't score it how you think a judge is fucking seeing the fight. That was awesome.
And no judge has ever given out fucking that many 10-10s, you nutcase.
That was awesome.
He's a weirdo.
But yeah, I don't really want to talk about the undercards. Sauerland's undercards are fucking horrible. Gamal was
I didn't watch
there.
any of that.
Well, you didn't miss anything. Gamal was on there in the 6th round, though, looking pretty flat. His opponent did have a bit of a chin, the Georgian dude, but yeah, it's just, we'll get him out. We'll get 6 rounds under his belt after he's been out injured or whatever. Nah, it's a waste of a fight. I don't want to see it on TV. There was another fight, a German dude, I remember his name, to be honest, and that was a pretty poor fight as well. But should we move on from this terrible Sauerland card?
Yep.
All right, Leon, I know you were watching the fight when this...
I'm in round 11.
Oh, so you're... All right, I'll start with Naota, and by the time you finished, and then you can give us your full opinion on it then. Naota, Jamie Conlan versus Cardoza. A tougher fight than what most people... especially, I think you thought it would be a bit easier fight for Conlan too.
Yeah, I did. I really didn't rate Cardoza, as I mentioned to you before, and I linked you in the chat and everything. This is a guy that got knocked out in the first round by Chocolatito's cousin, Christopher Rosales. Although, Rosales is a pretty good fighter. I do think that he'll probably be within the range for a title shot in the next couple of years at flyweight. But still, saying that he had lost to guys that lost at the world level. So it's like he's 2 standard deviations below what a world championship level fighter is supposed to be. And for him to basically run Conlan even throughout the entire fight, it doesn't speak very well for Conlan, especially considering the fact that Conlan is ranked number 2 for the WBO, which is now Inoue's belt. And so him versus Inoue, I think, ends extremely badly for him. I do think that there were good moments where he showed off his jab, kept it at the distance, used his height and reach advantage to his advantage. And he had some pretty good body shots as well. But Cardoza, he was just rugged. He was tough. He was coming over his jab with really strong right hands. He managed to hurt and drop Conlan with that right hand. Managed to cut him with that right hand. And it seemed like Conlan overall, his defensive skills were lacking. And I think he gives his height away too much, to be honest with you. I think he hunches over, crouches over way too much. And it pretty much puts him in line, especially for guys that throw straight punches up the middle and throw looping punches right around his glove. So it's almost like he has his gloves in a position where it's like a no man's land. It's not really defensively optimal for his overall fighting style. I had him winning by 1 point when it was all said and done. There were a few rounds. There were several swing rounds. I think I probably gave him out evenly to both guys. But I can see why Cardoza especially was pretty pissed at the end of the fight, because his face was clean, whereas Cardoza was bleeding. He was all red, and he had gotten fucking wobbled and dropped late in that fight as well. So I definitely understand Cardoza's frustration. That would have been a big opportunity for him, a guy that had kind of failed repeatedly at a level even below this level, really. I imagine the idea was that Conlan was going to get rid of this guy, dispatch him fairly handily and fairly early, but that definitely did not happen.
Yeah, but Conlan just gets cut if he scratches his face. He just got those cheekbones. But I kind of echo your sentiment. He was doing well, Conlan. I thought there were odd round. I think I'd give the Cardoza the first because he landed with a couple right hands, and Conlan didn't really do anything, and I think I'd give him the 4th after that. But yeah, Conlan's his jab was a bit pouring, he wasn't using it as much, but his counter right hand was really good. Anytime Cardozo would throw any type of lazy jab, he would just, lean back and then bang straight right down the middle. It's weird that I'm not seeing this knockout with Chocolito's cousin not stopping him in the first, but I'm surprised that happened. I don't know if that was at lower weights and maybe he was drained or something, because he showed.
It was at 109. So it is possible, because he is pretty tall.
Because he took everything Conlan had, man, and he didn't really. I think there was one body shot that kind of affected him, but everything he got caught in the face and the head, like he took the punches really well. So definitely a decent chin on the dude. But I don't know. I know you said you had 1 point. I had it 114, 113 at the end, same as Stevie Lillis and one of the judges. I think Conlan was very lucky to kind of get away with it, man, because it's not the greatest performance and. Ringside is saying, yep, he needs to go for a title shot now, and I know Kimo was kind of shitting on like Bunce and stuff for saying that, but I understand why Bunce is saying it, because you can't keep having wars like this, before you get your title shot, because by the time you get your shot, you're shot, you know what I mean? So it's a shot for a shot. You just took too much out of yourself before you even got the opportunity to fight for a world title. So I think definitely. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, just saying. I think definitely, like in his maybe next or the one after that, he needs to fight for a strap.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you're fighting guys at this level and you're struggling with them, it means that like pretty much anybody in the top 15 or so could potentially beat you on any given night. So it's just a big financial risk, as opposed to if Inoue made him an offer for his very next fight to go fight in Japan. He'd make a pretty solid amount of money, and it's a gigantic risk, because of the fact that I think he probably has about a 0.0001% chance to actually win that fight. But at the same time, that's the big payday that you're looking for. You don't want to lose to somebody like a Cardoza for, I don't know how much he made for this fight, 50 grand or 100 grand, or I'm not sure how much of a draw he is, and lose a title shot for 6 figures, clearing away, even after taxes or whatever, against somebody like Inoue. I did mention to you before the show, him versus Rex Cho I think would be a fantastic fight. Cho had a good performance against Hirofumi Makai, but Cho is kind of similar to Conlan in that he does look good in there in certain aspects, but he also has a lot of trouble with pressure fighters, and that's the type of fighter that Conlan is. So I think that could potentially be a fight of the year candidate between those two, because they're both pretty open to be hit. They're both good but not great. They're not like elite, and I think Cho is the number 1 and Conlan's the number 2. So I do think that would be a solid fight. But if anything, considering Cho brings big ratings in Hong Kong, and he's one of the top ranks kind of golden boys over in Asia, I'd imagine that Cho will probably fight Inoue next, and then Conlan will probably fight another, kind of stay busy and then get a shot at Inoue after that, most likely. I think is probably the way that would go.
All right, Leon, you possibly finished it by now.
Oh, I'll tell you who's fucking finished it, Cam. Box Nation finished it. The fucking recording stopped in the 11th round. Fucking Frank Warren is bummy long running cards.
Ah, shit. I hate when that happens.
Motherfuckers.
Oh, well, up to the 11th, what's your opinion?
Well, I think you guys have broken it down kind of technically, about his flaws and his pluses, but you've got to say, you can't fault his fucking commitment to the sport, can you? He looked like he'd been in a fucking train wreck in that 11th. His face is just covered in, smeared in blood, wasn't it? It was like a mask of blood. He is, he's a little fucking warrior. He'll fight anyone. And I think if you look at some of the state of British fighters who have got world title shots, your Lee Purdy's, your Brian Roses, there's no doubt that he's already, in some senses, he's been in these fights where he's been lucky, but they've always been wars. I'd happily see him in a world title fight. I have no issue with that. And, I hope he does get it. And he should just go and fight Inoue, like they said, and just take the money, go to that fight. If he gets beaten, which I think he would, he's still got a chance of moving up to fight Paul Butler still, hasn't he?
You never know, though, man. Like, Inoue might get like Achilles problem during the fight or something.
You never know. And he might not notice he was injured. Hands. But he's been in numerous good fights, hasn't he? And they are fucking wars.
Yep.
So come on, we've given world title shots to worse people.
That's a very good point. And I don't know if you caught it at the beginning, considering you may have had it on mute, but Victor Loughlin speaking Spanish was probably one of the best things I've ever seen and heard.
Oh no, I haven't deleted it yet. I'll go back and watch that.
That was awesome. It's when he's
Paddy. Oh, sorry, go on.
It's when he's giving his final instructions, basically. Yeah, it was funny. Yeah. Paddy, what?
How did Paddy look?
I don't know. Me and Neilta kind of differ on opinion. We were just talking before the show started. I thought Paddy looked quite good, putting punches together, using the jab well. His opponent was like the mini-me Matisse lookalike, was very negative, man. He's on the back foot, very high guard, and not really throwing back. So those type of opponents, hard to kind of open him up and land clean on him. But Neilta was saying that I thought he should have done more. Neilta, you want to just follow up what you were saying before this started?
Basically, I thought he was a little bit too open for that Dugar zone. Like, really, and I've seen him before, like in the Olympics and the amateurs and stuff. I think that Barnes could fight at a higher level, box at a higher level. But at the same time, I think he's probably fighting in a weight class that really doesn't benefit him. To me, he's not a bantamweight. To me, in the amateurs, he was making same-day weigh-ins and fighting at 108 pounds. So, if anything, as a pro, the way I see it is the highest he should probably be fighting at is flyweight. And, flyweight is a fairly open division now that Estrada's gone, now that Gonzalez is gone, now that Casimero's gone. It's a much less threatening division than it was just a few months ago, really. So, really, and bantamweight, to me, is like a no man's land for him. I can't see him doing anything with any of the champions at bantamweight. He's a good fighter, but I think he's undersized. And, the thing is, his opponent really was undersized, too, because his opponent, it was a 40-year-old fat guy who was like 5 feet even, if not like 4'11", and he used to fight at 105 and 108. So, he was fighting a guy that, funny enough, like Barnes is a small guy. He was fighting a guy that's even like physically smaller than him, in like just in all dimensions. So, for me, like I think that he really shouldn't have let this guy hit him damn near at all. Because, like I said, I've seen him fight better boxers than him. And be better defensively, better at the counter punching and stuff. He does seem a little bit open to overhand rights, especially like the looping ones. And I think he pulls straight back a little bit too much. I think that incidentally he is a little bit too used to that kind of amateur like fencing type style, and he needs to utilize a bit better lateral movement, which he's capable of. I've seen him do it before, but I wasn't really lit on fire by this performance. I don't know if it might just be the extra weight that might be slightly weighing him down in terms of his foot movement, but his hand speed is definitely very impressive. And, I think he can go fairly far, generally speaking, but to me, he's not going to be a factor at 115 or 118. And so for them to be talking about him getting a title shot within 10 fights or whatever the hell, I think Yamanaka starches him. I think that Laborio Solis starches him. The top guys at 118, even though it's a bit of a funky division where like some of those guys look vulnerable, I don't think he's the type of fighter that could really exploit any of those vulnerabilities. I think they'll walk right through everything that he throws and punish him.
Shit, man, you're right. Mini-me Matisse is 40 years old. I didn't even know that. Shit. Yeah, he should have taken
And you see, he fought when he was like 35, he was fighting at 108.
Shit.
So.
All right, I'll just quickly go through the rest of this card because I know Leon's not seeing it. So there were a few good scraps. There were some Dublin versus Belfast rivalries. So the first one of them was the Tyrone McKenna versus Jake Hanley. Hanley, man, the guy just fights with his chin proper in the air. His punch technique wasn't great, but he just shown a lot of determination and decent chin. He was just going forward trying to throw, but he just kept getting caught. And McKenna, southpaw, he was just boxing him well, and Hanley was just too open, man. But it was a fun fight while it lasted, and could have said a bit of a premature stoppage. Hanley was taking a punch as well. He wasn't really getting hurt, but yeah. I don't like to see guys taking too many flush shots, even if they do show a good chin. But yeah, the other really good scrap again, Dublin Belfast rivalry, was Declan Geraghty versus James Tennyson. Another Southpaw versus Orthodox, and Geraghty was doing pretty good. Just boxing on the back foot, Southpaw spinning off the front toe anytime his back was getting close to the ropes, and Tennyson was trying to time the right hand. He missed quite badly in the first round, but he managed to catch him with a really nice shot and dropped him in the second. Jumped on them, both kind of went to war for the rest of the round, just on the inside, just beating each other, clubbing each other. And Geraghty lasted the round, and just after that, third, fourth, fifth, he just went on the back foot doing what he was doing before, and Tennyson, I think, was looking for that one shot again, but his timing was off, and Geraghty was just outboxing him. Got back in the lead, and then got caught with a left right on the button, dropped him, and then again you could say maybe a premature stoppage, but because he was firing back. I think that one was a bit worse. I think the fact that he was possibly ahead, I think the ref could have maybe just give him more opportunities to maybe see if he was going to throw back a bit more, or see if he was recovered. So I could possibly see a rematch of that in the future, considering he was up when the stoppage occurred. So that was a decent fight. And the rest of the card was pretty average, to be honest. I'm not really going to get into it. Daniel Lim has jumped on the line. Daniel. Daniel, are you there? Maybe he's just listening. Alright, 2 other fights I've seen. Leon Neota, I don't know if you have, but I think Neota has, because he sent me a link for the Estrada fight. But I saw Clarissa Shields. I'm not going to ask Leon because you're not a fan of women's boxing, but do you see the Shields fight, Neota?
Yes, I did.
Thoughts?
I think she's over anxious to try and knock these girls out. I think she's a little bit too wild at the moment. And while she can definitely get away with that against the level of opponent that this Zabatos woman was, I'm not necessarily sure if she can do that against, the top of the top. Although that being said, the talent pool at 168 pounds and even 160 pounds isn't that big. Really probably the best fighters at the higher weights in terms of women's boxing is like maybe at 154 is like where you kind of get like a topping out point in terms of like truly quality fighters, truly quality champions. So in spite of those flaws, I think that she's kind of largely going to roll over a lot of these women just based on pure physical strength, brute force. But yeah, I mean, Zabatos pretty much wasn't in the fight, generally speaking. She just got kind of beat down, but she took a hell of a lot of shots. At the same time, though, while you can critique Shields for not really hurting her badly earlier and with a lot of those clean shots and taking more of like a punishment, accumulation route, Zabatos had only been stopped one time before, and that was in the 6th round as opposed to the 4th, which it was with Shields. So, and that was against a world champion level opponent, or like a former champion, former welterweight champion. So she was fighting much higher in weight, yeah, but she was just generally speaking a quality fighter. And as I said before, just the general talent pool isn't as big in women's boxing, especially once you get above like lightweight or super featherweight. So it's a case of Shields is kind of gonna unfortunately kind of get away with being a bit sloppy in a lot of these fights. But I do see the potential for her to turn it up. I mean, we saw her in the Olympics last year, and I thought that she was a lot more technically sound in the games and everything. But I think a lot of that had to do with her level of competition. She was fighting just better boxers. So not overly impressed with her, but I mean, she got the job done. She got her out of there. And you can't necessarily ask for too much more than for somebody to at least get the KO over an overmatched opponent.
Yeah, man, she beat the shit out of Zabato like she stole her boyfriend or something. I agree with you. She was rushing her work a bit. Just technique bit went out the window. It was more like she just wanted to land and land. She looked just overhyped, like she just wanted to get a stoppage straight away. The fact that she didn't get it in the first fight, but Zabata, she was pretty poor, man. Like even her punching technique was awful, and she was kind of like slapping down with the punches, almost like cat paw-esque, you know, like anytime she did get opportunity to punch when she wasn't getting punched in the face. But she had a hell of a chin, but fuck, man, she took some flush shots, and I'm glad it got stopped when it did, man, because she wasn't winning the fight. She would have to get a miracle to maybe like catch a lucky shot on Shields and do anything. So yeah, I'm glad it got stopped. But yeah, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but when I saw Shields in the Olympics, man, she technically she was really good. She just seems to be rushing her work a bit too much since she's turned pro. So I just wanted to kind of go back to the style she was using in the amateurs. So yeah, we'll move on. But Neil, to the link that you sent me for Estrada, man, thank you for that. It was nice HD quality, but I love watching Estrada fight. You know, he throws nothing less than like a 4-shot combination, upstairs, downstairs, variation, man. He's just so fun to watch.
Yeah, he is, and he looked a lot better in this fight than he did a few months ago. He had a bit of a comeback fight a few months ago after a long layoff. Looked a little rusty, even though he dominated every round of that fight, dominated every second of that fight. But he broke his hand in that fight again, and he's broken his hand, I think, about 3 or 4 times now. This fight, it didn't seem like his hand was any issue. He was hurting, and it's his right hand, by the way. He was hurting him with the right hand. He was hurting him with the left hook to the body, left hook to the head. As you said, ratcheting off those combinations. Salas was able to hit him with a couple of overhand rights in the first round, but once Estrada got the timing down on it, he was able to almost kind of do a shoulder roll out of Salas being able to hit him with that right hand and follow and like hitting him with like a check hook, followed by like a 3-punch combo after that. And honestly, in terms of counter punching with combinations, it's tough to really find too many matches for Estrada in the boxing game nowadays. Just a fantastic fighter and carrying on that type of style, like that Juan Manuel Marquez style, where it's like, you throw it with him at your own risk, because he's going to be throwing punches and bunches at all time, pivoting, and just doing a lot of damage to you. Just with the variety of punches and the different speeds that he'll throw him at. And a good win, knocked him out in 5. And honestly, I think he's really ready for a world title at 115. I think he's been ready, really. It would be nice to see somebody like an Inoue challenge him, since Inoue is very keen on challenging, top contenders, other champions, and number 1 contenders and stuff like that. So I mean, who better to go after than the guy that Gonzalez is supposedly ducking? A lot of people think that. I do kind of in a slight sense as well. Very tough fight. But if Inoue wants to make a statement, I think that's the way to do it. If you were to fight somebody like an Estrada and beat him.
Bro, Inoue versus Estrada would be fucking amazing.
Definitely.
That'd be a hell of a fight. But yeah, his performance against Salas was excellent. He did get clipped, I think, in the second. Got a bit kind of stunned a bit, but he came back and then hurt Salas right back. So it was like an eye for an eye. And the 2 knockdowns in the final round, like those body shots, it just really digging him in, getting torque on the punch, and yeah, man, like he chopped him in half with those body shots. Really fun guy to watch. And yeah, at that weight class, if you could find Inoue or any other of the champions or the guys highly ranked, man, there's some really good fights still out there for him.
Yeah, I think like Yafai and Ancajas are like almost kind of the 2 weak links really among the champions. And that's saying on the lot, because those are 2 really good fighters.
I like Yafai, but I think
I
like Yafai, but I think Estrada would destroy Yafai, man.
Yeah, I think he puts punches together in bunches too well. Yafai tends to, I think, have that little bit of like, I need a break between my spurts, whereas Estrada's ready to go 3 minutes of every round, and he'll pour it on you. He's like a rushing tide.
Yeah, Leon, I don't think Estrada will be coming over to Birmingham for any voluntary defence for Kal Yafai, unfortunately.
It'd be a shame, because Estrada would win that, wouldn't he? I mean, if that's a good fight, I'd happily watch that fight.
I'd actually go to Birmingham and watch that live just to see Estrada in the fresh. I
think he'd be in real trouble, wouldn't he? So
yeah,
don't see Eddie Hearn, That don't seem like an Eddie Hearn plan.
No, avoid him at all costs. All right, any other fights you guys seen over the weekend?
Nah.
No, I mean, other than Golden prospect Chimpa Gonzalez getting annihilated. That was a big disaster. They were pushing him heavy at lightweight. He just got wrecked. But that's all I can really say about it.
Yeah, I think I saw that knockout trending on Twitter, man. It was pretty devastating.
Oh yeah, and then Rex Cho versus Hirofumi Makai. Really good fight. As I said, he's the number 1 ranked guy for Naoya Inoue, but he's not on Inoue's level. I think Inoue probably knocks him out in about 4 or 5, something like that. Pretty good boxer though, and I think if theoretically if Cho were to fight somebody like Jamie Conlan, I think that has Fight of the Year written all over it. I think they're pretty much evenly matched.
Yep.
But I mean, him versus Mukai. If you guys are bored and need about 6 rounds to kill, fun back and forth fight between those two.
Is it HD though?
Yes, it is.
Oh, perfect. All right, let's move on. News-wise, I haven't got too much. I know Richard Schaefer had his press conference during the week trying to announce this tournament that he's going to have, but I don't know how successful it's going to be without having, other major promotional companies involved. But
what tournament with who?
Well, I think he's linked up with the Sauerlands, so, first of all, that's fucking going to be shit, because who the fuck is Sauerlands?
Ugh. I heard rumours that he was trying to dip into the cruiserweight division.
Tell him to
no,
stay away
thank
from
you.
that. Stay away from the
No,
cruisers.
yep, we don't need you.
Don't ruin
you
our
rat.
Don't ruin one of our favourite divisions. But yeah, I'll get into that in a minute. But because I'm trying to find the article on Boxing Scene, I can't find it. It was from last week. It kind of went under the radar a bit, just I think because people know that there's so many companies that don't work together or find it hard to work together. So the fights that we're gonna get, I don't think they're gonna determine who the best guy in the division is. But just quickly on the passing of Lou Duva, man. Rest in peace. Our condolences to his family and friends. The legendary former trainer, manager, and promoter to a lot of great boxers, man. Sadly passed away over the weekend, I think, age 94. So he had a good innings, as they say. Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, rest in peace. Definitely promoted and managed, trained some of the better fighters really of the last few decades. Especially like the 80s into the 90s was like Duva in his prime, really promoting a lot of good fights, good fighters. And yeah, just rest in peace to the man.
Yeah, I think he was managing Holyfield when he beat Douglas and became a heavyweight champ, man. So
yeah, Holyfield, Meldrick Taylor, Pernell Whitaker. You can go on.
Yeah, and he even took a punch from Roger Mayweather after Mayweather beat Pazienza in that fight in Vegas. So yeah, all right, yeah. I can't find this article, guys, on Boxing Scene, but basically what it was Schaefer hooked up with the Sauerlands, and they're gonna try and have like this 8-man tournament in a few divisions. They didn't really lay out which ones they were gonna go forward in, but basically like a knockout tournament, Leon. And air quotes, it's gonna basically, when it's all said and done, it's gonna say who the main man at the division is gonna be at that weight class.
Yeah, don't hold your breath. These tournaments are fucking, they're tough to put together. I mean, that Super 6, that, in some senses we hold that in quite high esteem, don't we?
Yeah.
As boxing fans, but it was a fucking car crash, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Of fighters pulling out and
injuries
the time it took.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the outcome felt like you kind of got there, but there was always a nagging doubt about some of the guys that were missing.
You're always going to get that, though. Like, if you have a tournament and there's top guys not in it, then the tournament's never going to feel like it's successful.
It's pointless.
Yeah.
Not pointless, but it's close to pointless.
Yeah, one, it's troublesome with a round-robin tournament, too, because there's many fights, whereas in like a single bracket tree-style tournament, it's just if you lose, you're out of the tournament. That's it, that's all. So it's when it's a little bit more streamlined, if they do it that way, I think they might have more success. Kind of the way the bantamweight tournament was.
Yeah, because you can just get a bad decision from some shitty judges and you're out, even though like you may have won the fight. So when they have more of a table and you maybe collect points, and then whoever has the most points, I think that's a fairer way. But as you're saying, Leon, it's so difficult to apply that because that would last like 3 years. If you're fighting twice a year, then the conclusion to the tournament would just take too long. People would probably lose interest by that time.
Cam, look, if you're having a news conference about the fact that you might be about to do something, I mean, who's interested, man? If they didn't, do they announce any fights or any information? It's a fucking pointless waste of time.
Like I said, I'm still looking for it, but as far as I remember, no, they didn't give any names.
Come back to us, man. We're not interested at this point in time. Thank you for your, just go away. Do some work.
Just go home, Gil.
Exactly.
You guys got anything you want to talk about?
Tony Bellew's been on a great form already, basking in his glory, telling us that he didn't know that Hay was injured, and if he had known that Hay was injured, he would have really put it on him.
Yeah,
pull the other one, Tony.
Like Coldwell wasn't telling the judge to take off the wrapping around their foot, like he didn't notice that shit.
Exactly. And then in other breaking news, he's eyeing up the chance to be a Bond villain. He's shameless.
Why do you even have to mention Tony on this week's show, Leon? Like,
it's just craziness. I just had to be said.
Nelta, you got anything you want to talk about?
No, not particularly.
All right, let's just get into the previews for next week then. Obviously, the big one on the horizon. They had the HBO build-up show. The Chocolito 2 days was pretty decent as well. HBO's cinematography is always just on point. Like, I think HBO's boxing team that make these documentaries should just make a boxing movie, and it'll probably be like the best boxing movie ever. But let's talk about Golovkin, Jacobs. Leon, will Golovkin beat him up a bit, hurt him, and then just take his foot off the gas for a few rounds because he wants it to last a bit?
Oh, I don't know. This is my least favourite week in boxing. The week before a Golovkin fight. You've got to stay away from social media, haven't you?
It should be the opposite, though. It's a shame that it's come to that.
I know, it's just,
It's the fans that ruin it. The fans and the haters together arguing about stupid bullshit ruining it.
Yeah, but it's got worse this time around because you got both sides of the ongoing Golovkin debate, plus all the Brook weirdos who are still trying to tell us it was a freak accident and that's the only reason he lost. So it's got worse. It's unbelievable. But anyway, as for the fight, I think I mentioned it before. I think Jacobs needs to come out fast, and I think he will come out fast. And I think he will make it a fight where Golovkin doesn't have the opportunity to carry him. He just has to get on with it. That's what I hope, and that's what I think. That's Jacobs' chance of winning. Is that he's not going to survive 12 rounds trying to box him on the back foot, is he? He's got to hurt Golovkin somehow to get Golovkin to shift. So, yeah, I think Jacobs makes it a fight and potentially gets himself knocked out. Or I think he does get himself knocked out.
I think he gets knocked out quite easy. Like, look of his past fights where he's looked vulnerable. He got dropped against Sergio Moro in that first fight where, okay, you went after Moro a bit after dropping him, but like you got dropped by Sergio Moro, a guy that's got 9 knockouts, and he was a bit hurt as well. It wasn't like a flash one where he got up and his senses were all together. He looked a bit hurt. So obviously there's Pirog as well where he got stopped. I don't know. I think Golovkin might just go in there and just take his head off straight away. I could see it like finishing in 2 rounds.
Don't you think though that Jacobs has to start quickly because he's got fast hands and he has to kind of use them as a surprise element. He doesn't want to just give Golovkin a couple of rounds to get used to the speed of his hands. He's got to get in there to have any chance of winning. I think anyway. And his power's legit, but we a lot of people, you know, what we've seen of Golovkin's chin, it looks very, very good. So Danny's got to go for it.
And the only way I see Golovkin losing is some type of freak injury. His eye blows up. You can't see out of one eye, you know. Some type of arm injury, leg injury, something like. If none of that shit happening, I see Jacobs being demolished.
So you think you're confident Golovkin takes his best shot clean?
Easy. I actually won't. I actually think he's going to be on point. I don't think he's going to get caught clean by Jacobs that much. I think he's going to respect his power, and I think that there's not going to be. If he does get caught, I think he'll take his shots well, but I think he'll catch and block and slip a lot of his punches. I don't think he's going to get caught by Jacobs that often.
Yeah, I mean, the two in his two fights with Lemieux and Stevens, he played it pretty close to the chest. He played it a little bit safer before he kind of rattled up the pressure, the power, and everything as the rounds went on, and then finally took him out when he took him out.
But those guys weren't super competitive, were they? Or didn't feel like Lemieux didn't go for it like you hoped he would.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, Jacobs is one really strong point. Jacobs' one really strong point is the fact that he does start fast. He has quick hands. He has quick feet, and he throws punches from very similar angles that Kell Brook did. So, I mean, there is the potential for him to land early and cleanly on Golovkin, and who knows, he might be able to catch him cold, so to speak, and draw him into the type of fight where it's really difficult for Golovkin to really get a rhythm together. But overall, I think it's most likely that Golovkin will knock him out probably in like 4 or 5 rounds, something like that. I think Jacobs and Golovkin will both be semi-respectful of each other's power. I don't see any kind of like all-out war going on. But I do think that there's going to be like moments of like, it's like you're holding your breath because you're seeing these guys like just throw such nasty leather at each other. But I mean, Jacobs against Quillen, for instance, he started very fast in that fight, managed to catch him early, and he finished him fast. And the thing is, Quillen had normally shown a pretty solid chin, just generally speaking. Against Jacobs, that just wasn't the case though, because Jacobs hits like a truck, and he'll catch you with a shot that you don't see coming a lot of the times. So I think that there's a very slight potential for Jacobs there. But I mean, he has to be pretty much fight a perfect fight in order to pull what he would need to pull off in order to beat Golovkin, as far as I'm concerned.
One thing I'm not 100% sure about is a lot of people think that Jacobs is like this big puncher and stuff, but you look at his resume, like, his resume is terrible. Like, the best name on his resume would probably have to be Quillen, and to look for the second best name is like pretty difficult. He's early on he fought a lot of lower opposition guys, and it did pad up. I personally think it did pad up his record a bit to make him look out like he's some big beast of a puncher. But I think, don't get me wrong, I think he's a decent puncher, but his resume is a bit misreading, I think.
I mean, a little bit, but at the same time, I mean, he was knocking guys out pretty quick and violently that hadn't really been knocked out that way before, too. For his second best one, I'd say it's probably Sergio Mora. That second fight, he beat him pretty dominantly and conclusively. And Mora was a former champion and a guy that's just a really difficult guy to fight. It's hard to look good against him, but I think Jacobs did a pretty solid job of looking good against him in that second fight in particular.
But Mora is from a weight division below, really, isn't he? You'd say.
I mean, somewhat. I mean, the thing is, if anything, Mora was always a big light middleweight, so to speak. So, to me, like him as a middleweight was really more him fighting at his natural weight class. Whereas Jacobs, I mean, I don't necessarily see him as like a huge middleweight. I mean, he maybe on the bigger side, like I could potentially see him, I guess, at super middleweight, but I don't think that would be necessarily the best thing for him. Whereas with Mora, I mean, he missed weight in the second Vernon Forrest fight and was drained for that fight. He complained about it. So, to me, it's a bit of a different thing going on.
All right, so Leon, so you think it's going to be fast start from Jacobs, and what GG will catch up to him like mid to late or something, or?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think I think and I hope Jacobs will end up losing. Oh, I don't hope, but I think he will come to fight, and that will be to Triple G's advantage, and it will be a good fight. But he ends up stopping him 5 or 6. But I don't think Jacobs is gonna. Well, I hope he doesn't pussyfoot around. I think he's there to fight. That's the impression I get.
Fingers crossed, man. Let's have a good fight.
But look, the question I was going to ask: would we all agree this is 1 and 2 in this division? Can we say Jacobs is 2?
Yeah, I would say Jacobs is 2, but
yeah.
Yeah. So what cannot happen after this fight, win or lose either side? If Triple G knocks Jacobs out, he's not a bum all of a sudden. And if Jacobs wins it, he gets all the credit in the world. And and there's a lot of people saying Golovkin's a hype job. And then they're going to say he is a hype job, or are we going to say no, that's a fucking fantastic win for Jacobs? I just think
that's
the outcome of this has to be whoever wins it is a fucking good win for them. And we know, and lots of people have said before that Jacobs isn't capable of beating Triple G, but he's still fighting the number 2 guy. Like, we can't be it's not Kell Brook again. It's a damn sight better than Kell Brook.
No, it's a good fight. You're fighting probably the next best guy in the division after you, so you got to give him some credit if he goes in there and beats him quite easy.
So no excuses unless something happens like where your leg falls off like David Hay. There's no excuses. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
We can't be listening. I don't want to be seeing all kinds of crazy bullshit. But we know this is going to happen because I've already seen people saying, well, if Triple G can take his Jacob's best shot, he's definitely on the gear. I'll just grow up.
Yeah, I was going to say, you need to just expect that shit, Leon, because after the fight, you're just going to... Don't look at your Twitter, bro. Just have a day off from Twitter. Just chill.
Don't look at it. I live for that shit.
All right. Now to Roman Gonzalez's opponent. I've not really heard much about him, but I know you speak quite highly of him.
He's a very good fighter, very good puncher. He knocked out a guy last year by a body shot where he hit him in the solar plexus, and the guy started projectile vomiting all over the ring.
What the fuck?
Yep, that's the only time I've ever seen that. I've never seen that before, but it was pretty damn impressive. And I mean, he ran Carlos Cuadras very close in a fight that ended by technical decision because of the fact that Cuadras got cut by a head clash. It was a pretty close fight up until that point. It went through 8 rounds, and that's how Cuadras actually won the WBC belt in the first place. So this guy is a former champion. On top of that, he is about the same age as Gonzalez. He's the same height, same reach as Gonzalez, and he has the exact same knockout percentage as Gonzalez. He has 46 fights and 38 knockouts in those 46 fights, although he does have 4 losses and 1 draw. One of those losses was to Cuadras. The other 3 losses were in his first 5 fights. So he's one of these guys that, came up the hard way. He got knocked out in his first fight against a 9-2 Akira Higashi, a 3-weight champion, future champion anyway, back in that time. And then got knocked out in the second fight, had a draw in, I think it was his 3rd or his 4th, and then had another loss in his 5th. But since then, he only had the loss to Cuadras as a blemish on his record. The guy that I mentioned a little while ago, Hirofumi Mukai, couldn't do shit with him. Cesar Kid knocked him out. And, I mean, for the most part, unless you're an elite fighter, Cesar Kid is knocking you out. That's pretty much the ones and twos of it. He's not looking to go into a decision. He's not looking to outbox you. He's looking to damage you. And he's looking to run through you. Incidentally, his fight with Cuadras is a big part of the reason why when Cuadras fought Gonzalez, why I thought Cuadras was going to do a lot of quote-unquote running. He was going to really be very hands-off and stick and move a little bit more than like stand in the pocket and rationing off the combinations, because that's what he did against Cesar Kid. So I think that kind of says a lot about his power as well, because he was able to kind of freeze Cuadras a few times with his body shots. And so Cuadras took a lot more of a defensive first hit and run strategy as opposed to really standing in there and trying to battle it out toe-to-toe with Cesar Kid. And he did well doing that. There are a few people on the, if you look at the Promociones de Pueblo video, that's the YouTube channel, video of Cuadras versus Cesar Kid, that think that Cuadras got a robbery. over Sisaket. I don't agree with that, but I mean, I could kind of see their point in terms of, Sisaket, backing him up, being a somewhat effective aggressor, and just being a rugged guy. And for Gonzalez to have that high pressure, high volume style against the guy that punches this hard, I think is extremely dangerous. I mean, it kind of makes me think of somebody like a Joe Frazier fighting a George Foreman, where it's like the guy that's the swarmer, that's trying to swamp you with volume and tire you out and all that stuff and bust you up with accumulation, is fighting a guy that just is a bruiser that could, put his fist through a fucking wall. And, it's the type of fighter that Sisaket is, so I think this fight will really tell exactly where Gonzalez's defensive skills are at in terms of that transition offense to defense to offense, and he's going to have to utilize a lot of lateral movement in those like short little side steps into his punches in order to beat somebody like this.
Is this a WBC mandatory, or was this a voluntary defense from?
Actually, what the WBC had done was they ordered 2 mandatories for Gonzalez. They said that they wanted him. They basically said that you need to fight Quadras and Sisaket, but they didn't give him a specific order, and that he had to fight against them with. So he chose to fight Sisaket first, and then Quadras is actually going, as long as he wins this Sunday as well, which we'll get to in a second, will be the mandatory for the winner of Chocolatito versus Sisaket.
And just quickly on his name, is it another thing in Thailand where it's basically advertising, or why is his alias and his actual birth name so different?
Yeah. His birth name Wisaksel Wangek, and his Sor Rungvisai is a gym. So like you have Sor Rungvisai, who was a fighter that Shinsuke Yamanaka beat to get the WBC title bantamweight. Is a former champion, and the Sor Rungvisai is the gym, and Sisaket is actually the city where he's from. So they named him promotionally speaking after his city and then his gym. So Sisaket Sor Rungvisai. It'd be like if Manny Pacquiao was like Hollywood Wildcard or something like that,
Bro, your pronunciation is on fucking point. All right, Leon, do you want to add anything? Or I guess, like me, you don't know nothing about.
I don't know anything. I'm just going to watch it and enjoy it. I think
it's gonna be a fast-paced, exciting fight. That's pretty much all you got to know. May wind up being another fight of the year contender the same way that Gonzalez versus Quadras was, albeit for different reasons.
What's
I
interesting?
think Gonzalez versus Quadras was the Ali Frazier. This is gonna be the Frazier Foreman, or hopefully not for Gonzalez's sake.
What's interesting is I kind of echoed the sentiment of Chinaman in the chat, because he's saying I don't get the Chocolatito hype. He's looked average in his last few, and I'm really high on him. But his last 2 performances, I thought he lost to Quadras, and I thought he didn't look that great against Arroyo. So I think taking this dude on, when Gek is like a southpaw brethren as well, man. And the way you're making him out to sound, he sounds a bit like a beast, man. I think Gonzalez might be in trouble here.
We're the worst boxing fans. Like, he fights top guys. We say he looks bad in his last 2 fights. He fought a good guy and then went up a division and had a good fight with a champion. And we're talking about we don't see the hype.
Quadras might be the best fighter at that weight. So for him to look bad against Quadras is like saying it's like saying, Mayweather got hit a lot versus Maidana, so Mayweather sucks.
That might be his best win, though. Now,
Oh
yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. And like I said, if Quadras was to stop or defeat Carmona conclusively, which Inoue didn't do, Inoue beat him 9-3. If he's able to do something better than that and not give Carmona any chances at all in that fight, then obviously Quadras turned out that he was the best fighter at that weight.
Now, Leon, you make a great point in that, but I think when someone loses. Because I had Quadras quite wide, and I don't like robberies, man, and I thought he was very unfortunate to lose that fight. And I think the way the commentary team, because I watched both HBO and the Box Nation one, they were kind of living off Gonzalez's past achievements. They weren't actually commentating on the fight in front of him. So
yeah, but Cam, don't listen to casuals.
That's true. But I'm not saying Gonzalez has fell off. I'm just saying his last 2 performances have,
I'm just saying it's this is a top guy. He's not going to be around for a long time, and then he's given us good fights and he's been a great champion. It's not it's not Kelbrook fighting Frankie Gavin looking bad or something. I just think
no. He's
beyond. He's not beyond criticism, but I think
this is like Keith Thurman. This is like Keith Thurman fighting Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, and Errol Spence, and then Kell Brook all in a row. So anybody saying otherwise doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about.
He's still fighting the top guys, Cam.
That's true. That is true. I take that back then.
No, don't take it back. I'm just saying. I'm just offering the counter argument. I didn't think he looked great against Quadros, but I mean, I'm not taking that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing.
I still scored it for him, but that's
move a lot of these other so-called pound for pounders up in their fourth weight class, and let's see how they do.
All right, we mentioned in Quadras, and he's also on the card against David Carmona, former opponent of Naoya Inoue. I think did he go the distance with Inoue, I think? Yep,
only man to go the full 12 against Inoue.
Beast. Just for that, he should get like a medal or something.
Yeah, he actually gave Inoue a pretty...
Inoue's a hype job.
Yeah, he don't fight outside of Japan, so can't trust him.
You know what Chu says about those dudes?
Yeah. But, Carmona's a tough, rugged opponent. He has, I guess, the stereotypical Mexican style. He comes forward, really rugged, really tough, very strong. He did shake up Inoue in a couple of those rounds, give him just a difficult fight. Inoue wound up actually breaking his hand on Carmona's hard-ass head. So, he's definitely going to be there looking for a fight against Quadras. I just think that overall, though, I think very, very highly of Quadras. I think that he does things that nobody else can do in the sport. Just the level of activity, the level of speed, the level of power, and just his stamina base. In that Gonzalez fight, he never looked tired for a second. He looked tired when he went back into the corner when the round was over, and they took the minute of the break. Sucking a little bit of wind, but when he came right back out, it's like the last round never happened. So to me, that's extremely impressive. Like that goes back to like the old 15-round fighters. If there were still 15-round fights today, I'd have no doubt that like he's at the very top of the list of world champions that can go the full 15-round distance, more than any other fighter in the sport. But I basically think that he's a little bit too skilled, a little bit too quick for Carmona, and that's saying a lot because Carmona, not necessarily too much unlike Sisaket, is one of these guys who's like a top-level fighter, even without the belt. I think if you tossed Sisaket or David Carmona in against the likes of Yafai or Ankaz, Yafai and Ankaz may not be keeping those belts. So, in spite of the fact that they don't have championships at the moment, it's just really a matter of the fact that they kind of fought, the very toughest guys at the weight class possible, Inoue and Quadras, and they wound up coming up short. But I think Quadras versus Carmona will be a good fight. I think Quadras will probably look to really make a statement in that fight. And if he does, then I'd be willing to say that he's a better fighter than Inoue. Because if, like I said, if he beats this guy more conclusively and or knocks him out the way Inoue wasn't able to, then Quadras will, he just should definitely be rated very highly. But I think he's going to look to make a statement to make sure that Gonzalez gives him that rematch should Gonzalez actually win. And it pretty much goes from there.
Agreed.
Daniel.
What's up?
Where you been, brother?
Sorry, just got out of work. But I've been listening to you guys for the past hour or so.
So let's just go back then and give us your thoughts on that brutal KO.
It was beautiful. That's what boxing is all about, man. That's the shit that I like to watch. Just absolute brutality. And I don't wish ill will on Curtis Stevens, but if you're going to start a GoFundMe page for your opponent's demise, then it's kind of well-deserved, I think. And obviously he's okay, so I'm saying that kind of in jest. But Curtis is he's fun to watch, man. He's in a position where he's too small to be fighting at 160, but you just can't make 154. He should be fighting at like Canelo weight. That'd probably be his optimal weight, but he's just way too small for 160. And I don't think Lemieux really showed us anything different. I mean, he's dangerous early, and it's just the style of opponent that he fought, which is the reason why he looks so good. I mean, he's not any different than the guy who fought Golovkin, about a year ago. He's the same exact fighter. So it doesn't change kind of my opinion of either fighter,
You don't
It's
think
just
he looked
Triple
better
G.
in this fight?
I think he was more on his jab a bit
It's
more.
impossible to tell. I mean, it's a completely different style of fighter.
True, but I don't know. I thought his jab was a lot better. Setting
so
up
did
his
I.
power punches.
I just think that-
guy. But the thing is, he's fighting a guy in that shell. I mean, if he can do whatever the fuck he wants. I mean, there's really, it's impossible to say, like, whether, I mean, obviously he looked better, but I mean, has he improved, like, since a year ago? I don't know.
He's fatter.
Yeah. Triple G's good, man. Triple G, like, nothing changes about my opinion about Triple G. Like, I've always said it from the jump. Triple G is on my pound for pound, like, probably top 3. Maybe top 2 in terms of skills and all that shit, man. The guy's a fucking beast.
Where is he on your top 10 in terms of resume though?
Probably top 10, top 15. Honestly, who has a better resume than him? There's not that many guys with good resumes anymore.
That's true.
You know, I can make the argument that he has a similar resume to Keith Thurman. It's not all that different.
Really, a lot of Golovkin is he kind of backed himself into a corner in terms of how good he's done, and also the fact that he kind of came into the division when it was starting to lighten up a little bit, like where Martinez was retiring. And
don't get me wrong, middleweight is garbage.
Yeah. Well, I think most of his opponents had already been exposed beforehand, and that wasn't really his fault. You know, that's who the top guys in the division were when he kind of made his come up.
It doesn't even matter. It's just the fact that he's been promoted in a way that he hasn't really he hasn't followed suit. You know, his promotional team has raised him as some kind of bigger than life type of, you know, once in a generation talent, which he could be, but it's starting to get to the point where it's becoming a little bit too late. You know, he should have moved up to 168, I think, a fight or two ago. So, but that doesn't take away from the fact of how good he is. I think he's going to whitewash Danny Jacobs. I don't have much doubt about that in my mind. I mean, I think you guys were saying, you know, Jacobs the second best fighter at 160. I mean, how is he the second best fighter at 160 when his only big name is Kid Chocolate?
Who's the second best fighter then?
I don't know. I mean, I think you can make the case that Lemieux is better than Jacobs after what he did on Saturday as well. I mean, fucking Jacobs. I mean, how is he number 2? Again, maybe he is. Maybe he is. But I mean, that just goes to show you how weak 160 is. But to me, I guess I would never argue against that point. But it's just it's like brain fucking me right now. The fact that this guy who has the only thing really credible on his resume is whitewashing Kid Chocolate, who everybody shits on, right? There's not a single person in the world who doesn't hate Kid Chocolate. And his one big performance against Kid Chocolate, okay, well then you're that only one person who doesn't. But outside of that, I mean, what has he done? 2 fights against Sergio Mora?
Come on, bro. Sergio Mora beat your cousin Abby Han.
Well, here's the thing. I think Kid Chocolate beat Andam significantly better than Lemieux did. So, I mean...
Yeah, but triangle theories, bro.
No, it's not even a triangle theory. They fought the same guy. I thought Chocolate did better.
That's a degree higher. That's a degree further separated than a triangle theory.
No, it's further. It's closer because Jacobs destroyed Kid Chocolate. That wasn't even a fight.
Yeah, but you're talking about 4 total fighters now into the equation. That's not a triangle theory. That's even one further separated from a triangle theory.
No, but that's how fighters get rated. If they fight a bunch of the same opponents are on the same level, and one of them does better.
What I'm saying is that Jacobs doesn't get credit for knocking out Well, he doesn't get that much more credit just because he knocked out a guy who happened to beat some guy better than the other guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many degrees of separation there. What I'm trying to say is that after that Kid Chocolate fight, okay, yes, that was a spectacular knockout, but everybody had doubts about Kid Chocolate. Everybody did. So after that one fight, now he's the number 2 guy at that division. I don't see it.
It's just because there's nobody else that really matches that win, really.
Which is fair, and I understand that, but I don't know. We're just going around in circles here. But if I want to say, who's going to win, it's without a doubt Triple G's going to win. How he's going to win, I do not know, because he likes to kind of play around with his food a lot of times, and just to kind of refresh in my memory, I'll rewatch that Lemieux fight, And that first round, that jab clinic that Triple G put on, like, that's a completely different fighter than the guy who fought Kell Brook, the guy who coasted against Willie Monroe and that other bum that was on house arrest that he fought. Like, Triple G is a damn good boxer. I'm telling you. Watch that first round of the Lemieux fight. Watch the way that he positions his body, the way that he throws a jab and he makes his guard pretty much like untouchable, because the only thing that he's exposing is his shoulders. You know, he's a damn good fighter, you know, and I think he's going to pay respect to Danny Jacobs. And then once he kind of gets his timing down, he's just going to fucking knock him the fuck out. Because Danny Jacobs doesn't have a great chin. He doesn't have very good punch resistance. I mean, he got dropped by Sergio Mora, for crying out loud. You know, he's very shaky too, man. He's not a very, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think he's a very disciplined fighter. I think he's all over the place, man. Like, he's sloppy as fuck. So I think it's going to be easy pickings for Triple G.
Anything else you want to talk about, Dan?
No, I'm more excited, honestly, to go to the Conlan fight. I can't wait to go to that fight.
What, are you in New York that weekend? Next week?
Yeah, I'm flying out to New York on Thursday.
Shit, you got the life, you, man.
Yeah, I'm excited for that Conlan fight, man. I like Conlan a lot. That fight's already sold out, man. I think Conlan has a chance to be a star.
Why are you excited about the fight, though? Do you think his debut is going to be that good, or just to see
him
in
the flesh? Can I be honest? Can you guess?
You taking a hot girl that's Irish to the fight?
No, Conor McGregor's walking out Michael Conlan.
Oh, now it makes sense.
No, I like Conlan. I like Conlan a lot. I really do think he has the makings of a star. You know, then they're putting him perfectly in that kind of market. He's at St. Paddy's Day in New York. It's like a theater of about 4,000 people, and it's going to be a good scene. I like Conlan a lot. I think he's really good. I think he's a lot better than his brother, which isn't probably saying much. But yeah, and then the Jacobs fight itself. I'm telling you, man. Just I don't know what to make of Triple G. Like, it kind of sucks because a large part of I think his lack of progression is because of my boy Canelo, which hurts me to say, but I'm just keeping it real. But at the same time, it's like you can't. It's like an ex-girlfriend, like your number one like girl that you fell in love in college. You can't be stalking her for the rest of your life. You know, like, you got to move on with your own life. And I feel like that's what Triple G has to do. You know, you can't just wait around for Canelo his whole career. Like, you're too old for that shit.
That's a great analogy.
You know,
step up to 168.
I mean, I love Triple G, man. To me, like, he does so many things well that people don't appreciate. You know, what just hurts me is that he doesn't get the recognition that he deserves, and he gives people ammunition to shit on him. A lot of which is valid, honestly, because you can't like really rebuff it. You know, it's actually like logically sound what other people say about his resume and shit.
Yep.
Because let's say he starts as Danny Jacobs, right? Which is a very, very good accomplishment. People are still going to be like, who has he fought?
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, they will, but...
And the thing is, like, who?
What could save him, though? Because if he went to 168, what's that 168 what would define him as a boxer that, you know, unified or became, two-weight unified champ or undisputed champ? Like, 168 is fucking terrible.
You are right about that as well. Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very fair point as well. But I guess, like, I'd rather see him fight like a DeGale or like a Porky Medina type level fighter, you know, rather than just some of these other guys at 160, because at least it becomes fun in the sense that he's fighting despite being a full weight class smaller than his opponents.
Bigger guys, better punch resistance.
Well, and I mean, Ramirez, who, you know, Top Rank was throwing out the offer, and Golovkin's people, all of a sudden, he's not willing to fight anybody from 154 and 168 all of a sudden, you know.
Is that really what they said about Gilberto? Because Gilberto's not that good.
No, that's what happened. It's not what they said. That's what happened.
How do you know that? Are you in the gyms? No, honestly, I'm really curious. So, like, how do you know that for certain, though?
because it was pretty much stated several times from Top Ranks people, and apparently Tom Loeffler doesn't know that the Bob Arum exists or something, because he basically never bothered responding to any of it.
He didn't get the pigeon mail that Bob Arum sent him. Bob doesn't use emails.
That's another great point, though, too, man. Like this whole GGG. That's why Triple G is the most frustrating fighter ever. Is because it never ends. Like Cam, you brought up a fantastic point. 68 is garbage as well. So fuck.
It's either you're too big of a hater or you're too big of a nut hugger with regard to Golovkin. There's almost no middle ground with the guy.
Yep.
Yeah, he's fucking great, man. I know sparring stories don't mean shit, but I've gotten a chance to see like Golovkin train over like back in 2014 when he was still kind of relatively unknown, man, and he's a fucking beast. Like you can just tell, like when you see him at the gym, he stands out. You know, nobody can hang with the guy, like from a physical standpoint. And I think people have to really give him credit for the way he just maintains himself as a pro. You know, like people try to say that he's some like big middleweight or he's like, you know, like bigger than 160, but it's some like shady shit. Now, like this guy always walks around at 170 or less. And I find that really awesome. Like, I find that shit really, really respectful.
Yeah, because I think they did the 7-day weigh-in, and he's like 162. And I was like, wow, it's like 2 pounds off his weigh-in weight. What, 7 days ahead? Yeah. That's pretty amazing. Like, you rarely see that.
And he's old. And he's like 35, right? 34, 35. Yeah. Stylistically, to me, if I could fight like anybody, it would be like Triple G. You know, the guy's always on balance. And again, just going back to the Lemieux fight, I only watched the first couple of rounds yesterday, but he was never out of position. You know, he looked like Mikey in there, and that every time Lemieux would come forward, he would take a half step back. Every time Lemieux would back up, he would take a half step forward. You know, like he's very good. He's very good on his feet, man, and he's one of the best ring cutters in the game right now. So, you know, don't let some of these other performances fool you, man. Like this guy's damn good. You know, and his style to me isn't a style that really ages overnight. You know, even when he's 37, 38 years old, I think he can still fight at this level. So I think it's kind of foolish to kind of write him off just because of his age, because his style it's not really predicated on athleticism. You know, it's about very subtle movements and things that you just kind of master over time. From a technical standpoint.
There's a lot of good technical guys that really aren't particularly fast or particularly strong, but they're great boxers because of that.
And I think you guys were arguing before about like, you know, Lemieux potentially being a harder puncher than Triple G, like on a per punch basis, which may be fair, but that's what makes Triple G so awesome, is that he doesn't ever overcommit to his punches. So like we never know how hard he may punch just because he never has to. You know, that's the brilliance of Triple G.
Anything else you want to talk about?
So, huh?
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Any other fights you saw, or?
No, I didn't watch any of the fights other than the Lemieux fight. I heard the what's that fight? I heard the Gamboa fight was complete ass.
Yep.
Which I'm not surprised about. Let's see. I still would love to see Gamboa versus Lomachenko. I think that'd be a fun fight.
You should tweet that to Bob Arum so he actually realizes that there's a market for it and doesn't keep Lomachenko away from guys that he used to promote.
Yeah, man, most definitely. And yeah, just regarding the card this weekend, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to get a chance to see back-to-back fights in New York. I really hope that the Triple G fight can live up to the hype. Yeah, man, I just hope we can get a Curtis Stevens rendition. You know, one Brooklyn night goes down. Hopefully this weekend, the same can go for Danny. You know, no hard feelings though. I'm kidding. I like Danny. He seems like a really nice guy. He seems a little bit too nice, honestly, though. Don't you think? Don't you guys get a little suspect when somebody's that nice?
Like he's really a creep. He's just pretending.
Yeah, like he's weird. Like, why are you so nice, bro? And like, why do you love your girlfriend so much? Like, that's weird nowadays, you know? Like, you expect these guys just to cheat on their wives and just, like, and fuck around with whores. I guess we're too accustomed to Broner.
Side piece.
You know. Exactly, but he's with this girl who he's been in love for like 12 years. Just weird, man. It made me feel really bad about myself. I went to the bathroom right afterwards, and I was like, "What am I doing with my life? Why don't I have a nutritionist like Chris Algieri, where I'm eating a lot of colors in my foods? You know, like where's my dietitian?
Avocados every meal.
Yeah, no, but I'm excited, man. I can't wait. I'll probably get to the fights like right when the Chocolatito fight ends, so I probably won't be able to break down the fight for you guys next week.
No, man. You gotta get there
I'll
before.
definitely show up for that fight. No, I will. I'm gonna try to get there for the Quadras fight too, just for my boy my boy, what's his face, Triple J, King J up in this bitch. And happy birthday, by the way, right? Wasn't it that old fart's birthday a couple days ago?
No.
Yeah, it was.
What, King J?
Yeah.
Nah.
It was his birthday on the 7th of March.
Not that I know of, no.
Yeah, it says on Skype, bro.
Skype might be wrong.
Nah, so King J turned 46 years old last week.
I think he's definitely wrong now.
And he watched Chocolatito versus Quadras for the 457th time, and he still thinks that Quadras dominated.
Quadras got robbed.
Yeah, man.
All right.
It's yeah. What's up? Anything else on the agenda? Oh, Tyson Fury. I heard he's back in training.
Yeah, I heard he
Did you guys see the picture of him running?
Yeah,
isn't he like 350 pounds or something?
350, yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Man. But he's saying that there's a hearing set with the UK anti-doping, I think, in May. So he has to go through that before he gets his license back or anything. So that the fact that he was pondering coming back on the Leeds card, it's very unlikely because he's not got a boxing license and he's still awaiting this hearing with UK anti-doping. So I doubt he's going to be coming back on that card.
Jesus. And what's the word? Is there supposed to be a Thurman Garcia rematch?
I've not heard anything. It's gone quiet since last week. I don't know if you heard anything, Naoto.
Nope.
I don't really want a rematch. There's better fights to be made for both guys. So why do you want
too many other good fighters at that weight class for them to be?
I just want to shit on the IBF. I want to shit on the IBF too for their stupid ass arbitrary rules. Fucking hate promotions like that. They're like the hipsters of the promotional organizations. They're like that one fucking douchebag that raves about movies you haven't seen all year, but
Dan, you're
infuriated. Yeah, I haven't seen Moonlight.
You're breaking up, Dan.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Better.
No, I was just gonna say, like, the IBF is like that one movie critic who watches all the obscure movies that nobody has seen and just shits on you for not watching films like Moonlight or some shit. You know, the day after weigh-in, you got to be within 10% of your body weight or some bullshit like that. Forcing mandatories, which is great and all, but the worst fucking mandatories ever, a la Kell Brook. Man, fuck the IBF. I hate that fucking organization, man. And for people trying to like belittle David Lemieux's knockout of Curtis Stevens because of that bullshit rule, man, you guys are fucking stupid. The guy made the weight. It's a stipulation that isn't recognized in any other sanctioning organization. I mean, who cares? It's just it goes all back to the whole boxer's anatomies. You know, people just have different body types. Some people can cut a shitload of weight and gain that shit back on within a day. Some people can't. I mean, that doesn't make it any less valid. So, I don't know. That shit just bothered me for some reason because I saw a couple of people say, "Oh, the guy, he's a cheater because he didn't weigh in the day after." I mean, should he have? Yeah. I mean, yeah, he should have. I mean, he's fighting under that belt, sure, but that doesn't mean that his knockout was any less valid. You know what I mean? Like, he wouldn't have knocked him out if he, had to weigh in differently. Or maybe he would have, but the point I'm trying to make is that it's a stupid-ass rule to begin with. So, I don't know. He did look really bad, though, because he came in at 159, right?
Yeah.
I think he weighed in at 59. I don't know. There's something weird about Lemieux, man. Like, ever since that 24/7 where he was seen eating, barbecue out in the backyard, I always was suspect about him.
Yeah, he has a weird body shape. It's like he has like a lot of bloat to him in his gut, which I'm so sure makes a lot of people suspicious of him. But You know,
Yeah, his core is
some people,
quite. Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, his core is quite like a big man. He's very big in the waist area. Like on the scale against Curtis, like there wasn't really no definition. He wasn't looking like you, Dan. Anyway.
Do you guys think he's top 10 pound for pound sexy? Or top 5, excuse me? Just based on looks.
Nah.
for Jose, probably.
He's a superstar.
He's a superstar. Man, fuck Jose, man. I've texted that guy like 5 times and he hasn't responded back. If anybody sees Jose in person, slap him in the face for me, please.
All right. Just quickly, this week there's quite a bit of other cards. Dan alluded to it. Michael Conlan's debut at the theatre at Madison Square Garden on the Friday. I can't really go into the undercard or anything about his opponent. He's 4-4, so I don't think it's going to be a difficult job for Michael in his debut. There's a card on Bounce TV on Friday. It's Travis Kaufman who fought Chris Arreola, I think last year or possibly the year before. He's fighting Amir Mansour. Omar Douglas is fighting Edna Cherry. Kermit Cintron's fighting David Grayton, and Steve Cunningham is on there against the TBA at the moment. That's on Bounce on the Friday. Robert Stieglitz in Germany is fighting Nikola Sedloko for his EBU light heavyweight title. There's a card at York Hall on the Friday. It's a matchroom card for their next generation. Initially, I thought it was going to be on maybe Fight Pass or on Sky Sports' website, but from what I was checking, it's actually on Sky Sports 2, so which is quite poor really, because it's a low-level card. I thought it might be on on Fight Pass, but it's not. It's actually on Sky Sports 2, which is a bit shit. And that on Tuesday.
Hey Cam.
Yep.
Can I just ask you before cutting you off? Do you know what weight class Michael Conlan fought in the Olympics?
I can't remember.
123.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so
Yeah.
you guys think he's going to fight at 122?
It's in kilograms, so it's like 123 and change or something like that, or like 124.
Yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but if
Okay.
anything, probably 122. If not, maybe 118. Who knows?
This fight is at 124. It's just at a catch weight, so that's interesting. And shout out to my guy Travis Kaufman. He's actually a pretty good friend of mine from back in the day, like, you know, growing up in the amateur ranks and shit. He's a really, really cool guy. This is his first big step-up fight. He actually fought Prince. What's his name? What's that guy? The Prince Charles Martin, the King, the Pussy King. Yeah, he actually fought Charles Martin a while back and lost to him, which goes to show you just how good these guys are. Even though we love to shit on them all that much, but good luck to my guy Travis. He used to always go to my mom's restaurant and just eat like fucking $30 worth of food without paying for shit. So this is for that guy. But my bad. I'll let you get to it, Cam. You were saying something about Tuesday. There's a fight.
I'll get back to that. You sure it's the same Travis? Because this Travis never fought Charles Martin, unless you're talking about amateurs or something. Or?
He didn't? I thought he did.
No,
Travis Kaufman.
This one for Areola and really put it on Areola. Areola got a lucky decision.
Oh, yeah. What's his face? I'm trying to think of another guy. Let me see. Who's
You
the
were
guy?
thinking of Andy Kaufman.
Did Andy Kaufman fight Prince too? Who's Andy
No,
Kaufman?
man, Andy Kaufman's a comedian. Famous little comedian that's dead now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, nonetheless. Yeah, I guess I was just completely wrong. I'm going to look up Brock's box rec right now to see what Prince's record is.
Which Kaufman?
Yeah, my bad, King.
I'm looking at his record now. I can't see any Kaufmans on Prince Charles's on his resume. But anyway, yeah, just saying on the Tuesday there's a card, Fox Sports 1 card with the Sergey Derevenchenko, KH's boy. He's fighting Kamel Russell in a 10-rounder. Russell's undefeated as well. And Chemo's cousin, he's been away for about 13 months. Ahmed Elbiali, the Egyptian, based in Florida, I think. He's on that card as well. But I don't know why he's been inactive, but yeah, every time I saw him in the past, he was on a few Friday night ESPN cards, and dude's got power. Conditioning's not the greatest, but yeah, we'll see how Kemo's cousin does. But that's it.
He's probably been inactive because he's been waiting for that, that big Dubai payday.
That Dubai
the money hasn't come in yet.
Yeah, he might be waiting for a while if he's waiting upon that. But that's all I got, fellas. Unless you guys got anything else you want to talk about.
So, is the Conlan fight, is that on HBO this Friday, Kim?
I'm not actually sure. In the UK, Box Nation have picked it up, but let me just check for you guys over there.
It's going to be on Unimas. It's going to be on Unimas.
Yeah. Is Abe going over to New York as well?
Yeah, so we're gonna get that on Thursday. So gonna be boxing filled weekend for us, man. Which is really good. I'm actually I was gonna ask you guys if you guys could have picked. Would you have rather gone to the Garcia Thurman fight or the Golovkin Jacobs fight?
For me, because if I'm going for a boxing weekend, this one would probably be better. Even though it's like Conlan's debut, it'd still be good to catch some boxing on the Friday and then catch some on the Saturday. So for that reason, I'll probably go to this.
Well, yeah, this one because it's a better card. There's three pretty solid fights as opposed to one.
And for me, I just like the smaller venue shows, man. Like the Conlan on St. Paddy's Day. That place is gonna be fucking.
Yeah, that's gonna be lit up in there.
Hell yeah, Cam, you're too old to say lit, bro.
No, I'm not that old, man. Fuck you.
I'm good. Especially
keeps it 100.
Especially with Connor taking Conlan. I know obviously nobody likes Connor because this is a boxing podcast, but trust me, man, Connor in the all Irish atmosphere, it's gonna be fucking insane out there, dude.
I love how you only go into a boxing event because Connor's coming out with Michael. That's terrible, man.
I'd still go to the fight.
No, you wouldn't.
But
no, you wouldn't.
In terms of how big of an erection am I going to get because of Connor? Obviously massive.
That's disgusting, man.
I'm going to be sitting there I'm going to have a red panty on my forehead, just tied around my neck.
All right,
it's going to be a red panty night for sure up in that bitch.
This is getting disturbing.
And I'm going to get one for Abe too. I can get one to fit around his big ass head.
This is getting disturbing, but yo, say hello to my boy Abe, man. Enjoy yourself, Dan. Have a good weekend in New York. I know you love that city.
I love it, man. It's a great city. Even though I was depressed living there for a couple of years, I still love that city.
Yep. All right. Neota, thank you for jumping on. Leon had to leave early, so props to Leon. Haven't give the chat a shout for a couple weeks, so Die Hard Casual Fan, Doe Masters, BR, Not David, Hey, Jason268, Beast Mode, Tico, Scores Fam, J Swede, the A-Side, Nunez 83, Mr. Fix, Shams 1000, Steve Wellings, my boy, Chinaman, Arizona Slim, Beats Boxing, Pinhead 360, and my boy Court Music, and 10 guests. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to all the people that download the show week in, week out. We'll be back next week. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
Dude, man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the #1 flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically bun you, blood.
I disagree.
First time I hear the song, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos a Argentina, la concha de su madre.
I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
Feels great. Did we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass. Just to play devil's advocate. You want 1 portion of crow or 2 portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand him, what? I'm Scottish.
Cringe side? But you won't brush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you? He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you weighed for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition. We are live every Monday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. UK time, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.